One thing I love that we say at Cuddle Party is when we're all filled with oxytocin, we're feeling all kinds of love and whatnot, and be careful about making contracts and things like that. And I really like that they suggest if you want to connect with someone, you can offer your information, but please do not ask them for their contact information. That way, if they want to connect when they're more clear-headed, they can choose to do so and you know do it in a more logical, sensible way, whatever they're feeling. And a lot of things that we learn at Cuddle Party can translate wonderfully, sometimes easily, into the real world. But I feel like this can be a situation that can be a little hard to navigate. So I'm wondering if we can discuss options for when someone contacts you, let's just say through social media, and the complications of, let's say you do share groups in common, or you have somewhat known each other peripherally before, where it's not the first time you're meeting and it's more kind of clear cut. What do you do when they contact and maybe you don't want to, or you don't want to respond, or you don't want whatever they're offering?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'd like to go ahead and take a look at the easier scenario just for a second, which is like, what if you make a really nice connection with somebody at a cuddle party? Is it okay to follow up? Like, because you make an agreement to keep it platonic and you've got all these rules during the cuddle party, is it okay to like follow up and go on a date or something like that? And I just want to say yes, right? That we are not asking everybody to contract forever and ever to keep it within the cuddle party rules and guidelines. And so you're welcome to want to connect with other people. And I hear you're asking about, because I'm just thinking of the last group cuddle that I hosted where um, multiple people were like really interested in other people and it was a mutual thing. And it was actually a really sweet experience to see like multiple people kind of light up. And I don't know where it'll go, but it was just nice to see the connections being made. But you're saying like, hey, if one person is interested and the other person's not, and the interested person reaches out maybe through social media to the not interested person, how should the not interested person respond?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm curious to hear, do you want to share some of your thoughts on that first?
I mean, one of the things we learn in Cuddle Party is silence is a no. And so it's, people sometimes like to throw around the word ghosting when it's not really accurate. Like ghosting is after you've established a pattern, let's say 5 weeks of talking every single day, and then you disappear. But if you haven't established a pattern together and you just choose not to respond, that's not ghosting. And so there doesn't really need to be much shame in it. If you have a 20-year friendship, that might warrant some including that relationship. But there isn't a relationship if you've just met once. I think of it sometimes like talking.
Actually, can you just pause there? Because I'm going to just reflect that because I think it's a really good point that people do toss around this phrase or word ghosting. And sensitive people don't really want to ghost other people, right? So there might be some pressure to respond. And I love that you're saying, hey, if there is no pattern of communication, you have not made any agreements or any promises or anything to this person that you're going to follow up with them, you don't have to. And so I really like putting that out there. You are under no obligation. Just because you met someone, just because you cuddled with someone, does not mean that you need to continue the connection outside of the group unless you want to, like, unless you really want to.
And I think it's also valuable to notice when someone makes an open-ended offer, like, hey, if you'd ever like to hang out sometime, or if you'd ever like to go out to dinner, let me know. That's different than, hey, I'm wanting to know if you'll go out to dinner with me on Friday at 7 p.m. I mean, you still don't actually have to respond, but that's a much more specific, distinct request. And I think it's easier
It's
to
true. If somebody says, "Would you ever like to cuddle?" I'm like, "Well, if I ever want to cuddle, I'll let you know. Right now, no, but I don't need to tell you that because you said ever." Yeah,
exactly, exactly.
there
And
is that.
something you said before made me think, we call the cuddle party like a container, and some people aren't familiar with this concept. And you said that we're not expecting people to agree to the rules of cuddle party forever in the rest of their life. So do you have anything you might want to say about what the container means and why those rules apply within the cuddle party container, and you can use them outside but you're not bound to them outside?
Sure. Cuddle party is like a really fun school. Like if you go to school for a school day, people are pretty clear that like you go to school and you've got teachers and you've got your classmates, and then when you leave, you're no longer at school anymore, right? You're in a totally different environment. Home has different rules and whatnot. And the cuddle party is similar. When you're at the cuddle party, you agree to the rules and you do the things. And like when you're hosting it, Larysa, you are the leader and people follow your lead. But then if you leave the cuddle party, like people don't have to keep following your lead. They don't have to keep having platonic agreements with each other. They don't. They could even not have their yes mean yes or their no mean no. We've asked them to agree to it in that space and time, that time boundaried thing we call a cuddle party.
That helps a lot. And I've been exploring how to explain that to people. So anything else you'd like to share about what we've talked today?
I think it's a great topic. And I want to give the other side of it, which is you certainly can follow up and be kind of kind or give someone information or say, hey, I don't really want to connect anymore outside of the group. Like it could be a good exercise in getting clear with yourself, noticing your own yes and your own no and stating your boundaries. Like it could be a great way to practice that. So we're not trying to discourage anyone from being clear, but we're just trying to remove that guilt or that shame that's like, oh, well, I cuddled with them and now they want to connect with me and I didn't and I don't, but oh, I guess I should want to. Like we're trying to remove that. Like that's not a thing. Let yourself have the experience while you're at the group. Let it be done when you're gone, if that's how you feel.
That makes a lot of sense. And it kind of makes me think of, I mean, maybe in a future time we can talk about how that applies in Cuddlist, how that has its own container. That is a specific boundaried thing and it's different from later. And it's why people are not really friends with their cuddlists and that kind of thing. So it's
Yep, that would be fun. We could talk about that next time.
always great to learn about boundaries. I thank you so much for sharing.